Hello, everyone. Hello, internet neighbors. I'm feeling very Mr. Rogers today. How is October treating you so far? Yes, it is the ugly truth, and I hate to be the one breaking the news to you, but it is, in fact, October, which means that Halloween is just a couple of weeks away, and Q4 is upon us. 2021 is almost a memory. So while I can tell you the date, today's date is Tuesday, October 12th, I cannot tell you how we arrived here so quickly. I'm still trapped in February 2020. Eric, are you still? I feel like things happen.
I don't even know where I am anymore right now, but I also just have a newborn, so I'm like sleep deprived. I'm extra 2021.
Let's say that quickly. Eric had a new baby since the last time he's been on the show. Eric, congratulations. What is this sweet baby's name?
Hunter Lily Hochberger, the third H Hochberger girl. So we did it.
So exciting. And so if we hear screaming, it is not people upset about Eric's presentation. It's because it
might also be, but we'll see.
It could be. They could be related. We're getting lots of congrats for you. Hi, everyone. So again, Eric had a baby. I'm still trapped in February 2020. However we got here, we're heading into the most wonderful earnings time of the year. And so we are here to help you grow your traffic with Google Search Console, which I think Eric might agree with this. It's one of the more underused free tools that's out there and available to content creators. So what we're going to do today is a little different. Eric has a presentation to go along with the blog post that we shared earlier today, which we'll also link to at the end. But if you have questions for Eric, he's going to go present. I'm going to jump in. We're just going to have a good time and teach you how to grow your traffic. So Eric, without further ado.
Bring it up. All right. So this is a presentation I've given before with some very cool new additions from today's blog post. The idea is using Google Search Console, hopefully something you're all registered for with your website, but using this free tool by Google to improve your rankings. And this works very well. It's a strategy we've worked with on the Hollywood Gossip and, of course, Food Fanatic, which we're going to be using today as our example post. So we're going to do a little bit of a case study. Today we're using, again, like I said, Food Fanatic. So this is actually content that we did in, if you can believe this, 2013. We took a post, and then in 2017, we used Google Search Console, found out we were ranking on the term parboil, and then went through a whole series of how to improve our ranking on parboiling. We did a blog post on this, and then fast forward a few years later, we actually lost our rankings. Because as I always like to say, SEO is like a garden. You need to maintain it. We unfortunately did not. The weeds took over. And before you know it, we lost our precious parboil ranking. So we went in and we did a second round of related content, which is the strategy we're going to be talking about today, and got our rankings back and then some. And that's what this morning's blog post is about. And today's presentation will be both, how we did the original round and the second round. All right. So the overall strategy. We went through Google Search Console. We found which posts we were ranking on in the top 10, but not in the top 3. So things that were on the cusp of about to rank on and get traffic for. And then we developed a related content strategy around that term. We made some content tweaks, a few tweaks to the post itself. And then we wrote a bunch of those related content, and we had a linking strategy that I've talked about before in SEO Like a CEO, but we'll talk about more today. And doing these simple tweaks, we were able to increase our ranking of parboiling. As you can see here, this is round 2 of increasing our parboiling. I'd love to show you round 1, but Google Search Console doesn't go back to 2017, and they certainly don't go back to 2013 with the data they let you have. But you can see from when we started basically knowing that this obviously live was coming up in the second blog post, we started working on this around August. And you can see the increased rankings, and it's nearly doubled in parboiling traffic since fixing it. And it turns out there is parboiling traffic, as ridiculous as it is. You can see 110,000 searches or we've appeared in 110,000 search result pages for parboiling terms. And how to parboil is what we call the cornerstone content. So cornerstone, you've probably heard me say that's a Yoast term. But basically the idea of a cornerstone content is it's a category page, or maybe it's a post. It's your key terms that you're trying to rank on. And you're always going to have a few cornerstones. You might have 3, you might have 10, you might have 20, whatever it is on your site. Those are always content that you're going to try to link to repeatedly. You're always trying to improve your ranking on those, because enough cornerstones can basically provide you with traffic. So I encourage you to read my cornerstone blog post for more info. But in this particular example we're using today, our cornerstone is going to be how to parboil. And we got a bonus second, I don't know what we even call a second cornerstone, but in the related content, we found another major term that's actually even bigger than the cornerstone itself, which was parboiling rice. Thank you, Uncle Ben's and those little minute rices. They made parboiling rice a huge term. And we discovered this one, again, just from going through Google Search Console, and we were able to improve our ranking to number 1 on the bigger term, which is parboiling rice. So we're going to go over all the strategy that did all of this. I just like to lead with the results. So hopefully everyone's excited now, as excited as you can be about parboiling, and now you can use it to improve your rankings. All right. So again, we have an article on this that we'll link to, and you can see it down below. And this is what we're going to be using for our keyword research. It is Google Search Console, completely free. You probably registered an account because your SEO told you to. This is a great tool you can use, and you don't even need to pay for SEMrush or Key Search or any other tools.
So I'm going to jump in here real quick and ask the audience a quick question, which is, do you have a Google Search Console account now? Yes or no? Tell us in the comments about how long. If someone says no, and no shaming here, there is no shame in this game. If someone doesn't have one, about how long would it take to set one up?
Depending on how easy it is for you to verify. So if you use the Google Analytics method, I assume you're running Google Analytics, especially if you're with Mediavine, you can probably set one up in under a minute or 2. So yes. Plenty of shame if you don't have one by the end of this presentation. So you should go and do one right now in another tab. We'll wait for you. It's fine.
We'll talk about babies.
All right. So this is just an incredibly useful tool if you haven't already done it. And again, I'm going to just make the assumption that most of our listeners will have, but this is how Google contacts you. This is Google's free tool to help you get more traffic. And if there's ever a problem with your site, if you're under a penalty, Google actually tells you if you're under a penalty, gives you a message of what caused it, and allows you to appeal. You want to make sure that you have your domain verified. And I say do all 4 variations, but Google even now has a domain level verification, which I recommend you do. But yeah, when I say all 4 variations, I mean with the www, without the www, HTTPS, and HTTP without the S. Do all 4, just in case Google sends you the message to the wrong one. But make sure the most important one having is, again, whatever you call your canonical, or the main one that you have everything else redirecting to. So verify if you haven't already, because they will tell you if you have a problem. Plus, again, it's a free SEO tool that's going to give you a lot of awesome data, as we're about to show. All right, everyone should be back now. Did everyone set up their accounts? Perfect. Okay, just making sure. I can't see the comments, so I'm just making sure.
Look, most people already had them, but we're also getting a lot of, I'm sure I don't use it properly. So right. We're here for that.
That is literally the summary of why we're giving this presentation. Most people don't. Incredibly powerful, and it's just, most of the good stuff is buried because there's just so much in Google Search Console. Today we're going to be focusing on the performance section. So you'll see this in the sidebar. You're just going to click on performance search results. That's where you're going to be living today. And that's going to be basically the free tool that we use to find parboiling. And when you click there under performance, make sure you turn on average position. So you're just going to have to click that average position box. Then it will start listing position. By default, it does not show you the position. Position being where you rank. So one would be what we call position 0, so at the very top of the results. 1, 2, or 3 are the ones, again, we're not going to spend a lot of effort on. We're looking for things that are 4 through 10, or really 2 through 10. Because if you're 1, clearly we don't need to do anything other than maintain, which again, we'll talk about in the back half of this. So we're really going to highlight or figure out which of our things have a lot of impressions. So I like to sort by impressions or clicks. Either one works. And then find something that you're not the top 3, because most clicks go really to the top 3 results. So if we have something in 4 through 10, but there's a ton of impressions for it, so we're showing up the results and maybe not getting the clicks, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to find something that we want to improve the rankings on. And so for us, we found parboiling. And when you search now in our parboiling of our various different terms, this is if you do a filter, basically, which you can do inside of Google Search Console, queries or containing the term parboil, you'll see all of this popped up. And because we added position, you can see where we are ranking or not ranking. And this was the before, so you can see how to parboil rice. This was before we were ranked number 1. How to parboil potatoes, that is a bigger one even, and we were ranked 6.4. So you can see that these are all different pages that we're working on improving the rankings of. And these, again, all came from the original strategy of doing this. And Amber, you can see her face all throughout the side, did the original round of them. All right, so what is the strategy? Now that we know the pages we want to improve the ranking of, because Google told us, hey, you have a lot of potential here. We already think you're an expert on this. We're going to establish we're even more of an expert. And that is by creating what we call related content. So Google itself will tell you what they think is related to your term. All you have to do is actually search in Google. Make sure you do private browsing in Safari or incognito in Chrome so that these aren't custom results to you. And then search the term you're trying to rank on. And Google will literally tell you at the bottom in a little related searches section, or in what's called the people also asked, it's going to tell you what they think is related to the term that you typed in. So if you're trying to improve your rankings on how to parboil, Google is going to tell you the exact terms they think are related to how to parboil. In this case, you can see it's potatoes, now a lot of different meat, as we learned. Apparently parboiling meat is a thing and not just starches. But yeah, vegetables, peppers, chicken. This is where we got the other terms we were working on. We didn't have to use, again, a keyword research tool. Google gave us the info right here. They're saying this is what we think is related to the term that you're already an expert on. So the awesome part about creating related content is it gives you a chance to link to your cornerstone. So you're going to write a blog post on how to parboil potatoes. You're going to link to your how to parboil cornerstone. But now you're also going to get a whole new term to rank on. Remember at the beginning, I showed you how to parboil rice. We created that content because Google told us to. And now suddenly that's ranking us even more than our cornerstone content. So related content is the key to this strategy.
Also, everybody, please don't panic and think that you need to write all of this down. We will share the presentation at the end. You're good.
And we'll have plenty of time for Q&A, I promise.
Yes.
Going through it fast. All right. So this is the people also ask section. So sometimes in order to trigger this, you might have to phrase your search in the form of a question. So think Jeopardy here. If it's parboil, that's what is parboil, how to parboil, how long do you parboil, whatever it may be. Do you parboil? Apparently is a question. I don't know. Sure. I don't know why we're asking Google that.
Google tell me that?
Yeah. Who knows? But the point is, once you get a search in there, Google starts showing you people also ask other questions. And if you click on one and then close it again, it'll show you a whole nother group of them. So this can generally get you I would say about 10 to 20 different related questions. If you go too far, like I say, down the rabbit hole by clicking too many down below, it's going to get into something pretty unrelated to parboiling at that point. Don't go too far. Just around 10 will get you pretty relevant stuff. And again, these are all great search terms that Google is saying is related to how to parboil. And you can write blog posts on each one of these or add this to your cornerstone content. So you could do a separate section in each one. How long do you parboil for? It could be a subsection of your how to parboil cornerstone content. Or how boiled is parboiled?
That's the one that's sticking out to me.
Yeah. That is a great philosophical question that we'll have to add later on.
You need to go to the top of a mountain and think about it.
So again, this is just going back to why you're doing this strategy, a chance to link to your cornerstone content and a chance for new things to rank on. And generally, if Google thinks you're an expert because you're already ranked in the top 10, they're going to think you're an expert in anything related to that. That's generally how Google's algorithm works. So you're going to see yourself pop into the top 10 for all this related content pretty quickly, especially if you're linking to that related content from your original post. You will find yourself, again, showing up, and then you'll have new terms to go after.
We actually have a comment that says, a bunch of my top queries are actually different variants of my blog titles. So strange. What is your blog title? Tell us and I'm curious.
I mean, that happens on the Hollywood Gossiper. You have a name that's similar to search terms for sure. but you might have to go to page 2 or 3 if you're not finding results on the first page of things you want to work on. And that's okay. All right. So here are some questions that we ended up going with. Why should I parboil? What liquids can I parboil with? What recipes use parboil ingredients? And so we created basically a whole series of content around parboiling, which you may think is impossible, but again, there's so much. Here's just a sample of some of the content we created. How to parboil chicken. Oh, look at that grow. Recommended content there. What is parboiled rice? Again, what and how are both two very related questions to Google here, and variations you can do on each of these posts. I think we created almost 20 in total in order to get that 100,000 impressions. All right, so let's go back to the linking strategy here. So this comes right back to our site structure post, a couple of posts we've done in the SEO Like a CEO series, and this concept of silos, as we call them. Each one of those you'll see is the homepage. The homepage links to each of your cornerstone content. So your cornerstone content, again, in this example being how to parboil. So you want to make sure your homepage links directly to your cornerstone, and then your cornerstone is going to have these supporting or related content underneath it. What's really important is that as much as you can, you have your cornerstone link to these different supporting posts, but the much more important thing is that the supporting posts link back to your cornerstone content. That link back is what's really going to boost your ranking on the cornerstone content, which is the most important thing you can do. But you have to make sure you get a link to the supporting or the related content, or Google's not going to index it. So remember, when you write something and it shows up in your feed in your homepage at the beginning, it eventually, over enough time, gets pushed down. And that's what we keep talking about. SEO is like a garden. You have to maintain it. So how do you got to think about your whole site as your link structure. How many hops away from the homepage is your cornerstone and your supporting content? So anytime you write a post, think about what content you can write, what content you can link to. So in this example, again, cornerstone links to related when possible, only if you do it organically. Don't just create a giant list. Link to them organically in the text whenever you can. And then again, more importantly, related content links back up. And cool is that related content can link to each other. And it's very easy in general, because it's related, to find organic ways to link. So you can see here they kind of link between each other, they link back up, and they link down. And it is okay if two silos link to each other. I know we got this as a question before when I posted site structure. This is just an overall guidance. If there's an organic way to link, do it. All right, so I know what you're thinking.
Actually, Eric, I'm sorry. Let's pause for a second. What's an organic way to link? What do you mean by that?
So generally my guidance, and we have a great blog post on internal linking on the blog that I'd recommend you check out, but the idea is one time or 2 times per paragraph, you'd want to put an internal link in. And an internal link just means a link to your own content, to yourself. When I say by using it organically, I mean, don't look like you went out of your way to use the term you're trying to link on, and that's called your anchor text. And that's generally going to be, when you link to something, you want it to be on the keyword of the post that you're linking to. So in how to parboil, if I'm linking to how to parboil potatoes, the anchor text, or the text that I'm linking on, should be how to parboil potatoes. If I can't get that naturally into a sentence, or at least the words potatoes, then I shouldn't link to it. But if there's a great chance, as I'm telling people all the different starches you can parboil, to link to potatoes, do it. If it fits within the text that you're writing, that's what I mean by organically link. Link when it naturally comes up.
And I'm going to have you say that one more time, how often you like internal links, because I don't know that it sticks. You are. So I want to hear that again.
Okay. So I will do them. In general, you can look at my SEO posts themselves, because in a meta way, we try to optimize those for SEO. Every few paragraphs, I make sure that there is an internal link. So if you can, every paragraph would be probably a little overkill, but every other one, remember, we encourage short form content here. So short form paragraphs. So everything is 1 to 2 sentences, because you're writing for the web. And again, I always tell people, if you wonder why we give this advice, go browse your website on a phone and you get a wall of text if you don't hit the enter key more often. So assuming you're doing this correctly and you're hitting the enter key, and each one of these paragraphs is only 1 to 2 sentences, think about every other paragraph. Make sure you get a link into something of your own. And if you can, Actually, you do want to link to something external as well. So that's linking to other people. But again, you want to balance it. You want to have more links to yourself than links to outside people. I like crazy ratios, like 10 internal links for every one that I give out. And you might be thinking that's a crap load of links. And yep, you're right. The marketing team, Jenny can attest to, gets frustrated when Mike needs more links.
Check out the Mediavine blog if you want to see it. We have a lot of links. But Eric is right. When we're talking about the silos, it's not challenging to organically find ways because all of this content is connected. It's not like you're talking about SEO and then all of a sudden you're like, speaking of SEO, my pants don't fit so great. So have you ever wanted that doesn't work, but this does, and it does make a lot of sense. Okay, we have some questions. Eric, you cool if I jump in?
Please.
Okay. This is one that I was planning to ask you later. How long do we let our new article or post season before we analyze the post within Google Search Console?
Oh, I would go a while. So you'll probably get indexed pretty quickly. If you're anything like the Hollywood Gossip or Food Fanatic, you'll probably see it within, well, the Hollywood Gossip is within minutes, but Food Fanatic is within hours. But that's not it, right? Because what you actually want is in this strategy we gave you, we told you to go through all your related content and add links, right, to your post. So if you're doing our strategy of every time you write a new post, going through other posts and linking to that post, it takes a while for Google to index all of your other posts and go and count those links. So it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 30 days before you can successfully analyze and see how well you did. So I would say generally you'll get an idea within a week or two of what your rankings are going to look like. And if you're not happy with them, again, just employ the strategy. You can still keep working on it.
And you can see that we had a 2-month needle moving, it was a slow, gradual climb. And then do you predict it'll keep climbing as we go forward?
So a lot of that slow climb is because we didn't want parboiling traffic to dominate all of Food Fanatic. As much as we're super into parboiling, our readers are maybe not. And so they don't want to see every post be parboiling. So we kind of mixed them in with other posts on our regular content schedule. So that's why it took nearly a full 2 months to release whatever it was, 10 parboiling posts, 7 parboiling posts without it taking over the homepage. So that's kind of why you saw ours really trickle. I would expect at this point for it to kind of plateau and hopefully maintain. And if it doesn't maintain, guess what? We're going back.
Write more posts. Yep. Sorry, Sid. Sid is our editor for Food Fanatic, and she is a vegetarian, and she had to parboil a whole lot of meats. So she had Eric to thank for that and this episode, all in the name of Google Search Console and more traffic for our audience. I have another question. So you're saying that when you put out a new post that, for instance, let's say I wasn't doing this strategy, perhaps I was just like, I really want to parboil some root vegetables for that Thanksgiving hash that I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. So when I put this post out that is organically going into my feed, it's going to be on my homepage, it's seasonal. You recommend then going to all of those parboiling posts that exist and updating then.
Anything that is relevant. Yeah. Anywhere that you can, again, organically and relevantly link to this post, do it. We do it all the time in the SEO series. So as I'm writing, I literally think of the next SEO blog post I wish I already wrote so I could link to it. So you got to make yourself a note of go back to that post once you write it and add that link in. Example, when we finally created the internal link, you go back through all of your different linking SEO blog posts and you add that link in. Too many words to be used. Too many link words.
But stopped meaning something at this point.
I know. So the idea is, you want to go through the posts that you can organically do this, and you want to add that link retroactively now that you have the content.
Every time. Okay. So what you're saying is that this is a crap ton of work and it's never over, and it's just a constant cycle of updating and writing and updating and writing.
That is the nature of SEO. Absolutely. This is not, as Jenny put it earlier to me when we were talking about this, it's not a crock pot. You don't set it and forget it. Again, that's why we keep using the gardening metaphor. You can't just plant the flower and then walk away and never water it again. You need to continuously make sure your content are getting new links, which is, your water in this case. And as you write, again, you're going to push things further down that feed. They get further away from the homepage. You've got to bring it back or make sure that you have, I don't know, an irrigation system set up, such as links in your homepage, or maybe, I know, I'm going to take this metaphor, all sorts of fun ways. So the point is making sure that you have consistent links to that content that your users can't forget about it, Google can't forget about it.
So how often are you doing this, going into your monthly, quarterly, weekly?
I mean, I think everyone should have a cadence that will work around their strategy that they're going to be able to maintain. I mean, obviously I'd love everyone to do this weekly. That's probably not realistic. Pick a day of the month, go in, start off monthly and go through monthly and see what's your rankings. And again, you can click into any one of them and see your position over time. Is your ranking dropping? Okay, time to go and create a new piece of related content. Again, you don't have to do it in batches like we did. We did 7 of them because, well, this was for a blog post and a live, and I'm very mean to Sid, I guess. Sorry. Better is if you do this monthly, it'd feel like less of a chore, right? You might go through 10 of your posts and be like, oh, I got to do a new parboiling one. I got to do a new blanching. I think blanching is another one we're working on right now. There's a ton. You don't just have one piece of cornerstone. We're focused on parboil today. Remember, you can have 10, you could have 20, you could have 30 of these. So you could really be spreading. You could literally just have your content based on related content. If you pick 20 strong cornerstones, and you could have millions of page views just off those cornerstones in this strategy.
And like you said, this is actually just a part, one section of the content that you're creating. It's not, this is not my parboiling 6 months. This is happening. I'm not necessarily sharing these posts to social or pushing them out in my newsletter. This is created for people who are searching for parboiling information on Google. Because sometimes we say we're creating it for Google. Well, yeah, but we're creating it for the people who are trying to figure out how to parboil those ribs.
Right, exactly. I mean, it is for Google, but it is really for the readers of Google. Exactly. And if it's not content that you really want to share with your newsletter audience, you don't have to. If it's not the content that you're most proud of, maybe think about which content that fits within that cornerstone that you are going to be more proud of. There is seasonal stuff that you could parboil and use inside of whatever your Thanksgiving recipes that are coming up. There are definitely ways that you can bring organic related content into your regular schedule that you'd be proud of.
And nope, not just food. If you're doing travel, and we're talking about packing, which was the silo example that we showed up above. Heck yeah, you need to write a post about how to pack for a weekend home with your family for Thanksgiving. And you want to talk about all of the different pants that you can wear that expand at the waistline. And then you want to put in your affiliate links to go buy those pants. So there's just all sorts of stuff.
I wish we had Travel Fanatic. I could give you so much content and this concept works almost better in travel than it does in food. It's awesome.
Why do you say that? Why I'm interested in that.
Well, just because you go by geographic region a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you could hop in each city and create related content on traveling to a city, to a country. It is a great SEO world, travel. It would be awesome to optimize this for. I know maybe a year or two ago, not so much, but obviously travel is coming back, and this is an awesome time, I think, to be a travel blogger again.
I'm excited about it. Okay, I've got a few questions and I'm going to let you get back to your presentation. All right. Yes to organic, but should we still list some related posts at the end of the blog post, or is Grow taking care of this? And they said those posts are not always related in their opinion that Grow is sharing. So
again, Grow is more about recommended content. So that's content for the user, which if the user is not logged in, sometimes it's going to end up being related to that post. The user's logged in, it's going to be based upon what they browsed on your site. But if they're not logged in, they went to 2 page views, it's still going to be based upon them as opposed to based upon the content itself. And that's better. It basically is what the user is most likely to watch. Think about Netflix as it recommends stuff to you. You might get some stuff that is completely unrelated to the show you just watched, but you might end up watching that next show they recommended anyway. And that's okay. We all like variety in our TV and in our web content. So that's a separate thing though, also in general, your recommended or your related that you have after the post. Links inside the content are the best place to always put links. And that is because think about it from Google's perspective. Google's search engine is trying to identify the different sections of your site. This is why they say theme changes you don't want to do too often, because Google spends a lot of time learning what your site is. So this is the sidebar. This is the header. This is the content. Similar to what we do when we insert ads or when we run Grow. Like, we're trying to figure out where your content is. Google's trying to do the same thing. So they're going to separate out the related content you put at the bottom from the content itself. The content itself is the most important thing. That's where your link should be.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. This was also a question that Irene asked that I was going to ask later. Should you request that Google Search Console update a page to be indexed, or just let it happen?
Generally let it happen unless it's an old piece of content that maybe you fixed some schema or you fixed an issue on that you need Google to index now and you don't have patience for it to wait maybe a week or two. I generally just let Google do its thing. I think if you ever hear me give the advice, go in and request manual indexing, it's probably because you had an issue on your site. So maybe your recipe card wasn't outputting the schema properly, or there's something that you needed to change. Then I would recommend a re-indexing. Otherwise, I just like Google. Google will come. I have faith.
All right, Google, your site is the field of dreams. Google will come. You've built it. All right. Yes, we just said this is a lot of work. Sarah said, SEO is not a crockpot, Eric Hochberger. Sarah, that was me.
Yeah, it's like on The Office, it's Jenny Guy, Eric Hochberger under.
Okay, perfect. I need to buy, I already know what I'm getting.
I also stole SEO is like a garden from Josh, so it's also Josh, Eric, so it's fine.
It's fine. It's, we're all here close. We're here to lift you up, Eric. That's why we're here. Oh yeah, here we are.
Oh, finally, moment I have been waiting for. I'm not going to do the dance, but I'm just going to stare at Yoda doing the dance for a little bit. I know. So yeah, this was today's blog post. If you go onto the Mediavine blog, we're going to have lots of Star Wars gifts. Do not worry. But the idea is that we did the parboiling again. Back in 2013 was the original blog post. 2017 is when we sat down and discovered we are almost ranking for parboiling. I think we were 6 or 7. Now you can see we're 2 or 3 because of this strategy. So in 2017 is the first round, and we lost our rankings. In 2021 is when we came back with the epic sequel, and we got our rankings back stronger than ever. And that's what the next 5 tips I'm about to give you. They're not all going to have Dancing Yoda, so take that one in before we move on.
But they have some cool stuff. Okay, Claudia, I'll get to your question in a moment. And Sarah, not a big deal at all. I'm just teasing Eric. We love you.
All right, tip number 1, and I can't believe we made this mistake because I stress it so much. Link to your cornerstone content from your homepage. This is something that we covered in our site structure, again, blog post and SEO like a CEO. But as long as you have that link always to your homepage, your cornerstone content ranking should never drop significantly. You're occasionally going to still want to go in and freshen and create related content. That link from your homepage is the number 1 thing you can do to keep your cornerstone content continually being indexed by Google and continuously ranking high. This is advice from Google itself. They tell you to think about your site structure from your homepage's perspective. So everything should be 1 hop away, ideally, if you want it to rank, or 2 hops away if it's slightly less important to you or slightly less competitive term. 1 to 2 hops is about as far. And by hops, I mean the first hop being you link directly from the homepage. 2 hops means whatever you link to from the homepage, then link. So think Kevin Bacon here. So with our cornerstone content, again, 1 hop. And with related content, 2 hops. And so where did we get ours in? We use the navigation because we don't have a static homepage on Food Fanatic. That is because Food Fanatic, sadly, is not on WordPress. So creating a static homepage is not super easy in what we have today. So instead, what we did is we added to the navigation. Static homepage would be ideal because, again, that's inside the content itself of the homepage. Navigation is your second best option. And in general, the ranking is you want to do the top because Google indexes from top to bottom and left to right is generally how they look at the priority of things. So you want in the top navigation if you can. Otherwise, then in the sidebar or in the footer would be your last spot that you want to stick something. So if you can, get into your top level navigation. And we just added a new little section in the dropdown called Popular, is where we link to ours. And I think we added into the slider as well, as you can see that how to parboil at the top.
So I'm gonna jump in here and ask a question. Do you advocate for a static homepage if you can and have that option?
I think if you can, I would recommend it, as long as your static homepage also contains your feed. So at the bottom, after you're done with your static homepage, where you can do kind of a welcome to my blog or here are my popular posts or whatever your different sections are. After all those, as long as you drop into the feed after, you get the best of both worlds. And I would encourage a static homepage then. I think it's a better user experience for a user to come to your site who has never been there before. Your homepage is generally going to be, especially for like a brand, the best way for them to learn about you and your site. So make sure you're telling them that story, but then also make sure that you're giving the newest content to your readers that are constantly coming back to your homepage. So you can kind of balance the two of them with the static homepage if done right.
I love that. And from a brand perspective, I completely agree. And I think that I always say, anytime I talk about this, you want to curate as much of the experience for the brand as you can. You want to give them the optimal experience to your website. Tell, like Eric said, tell the story of your site, tell the story of why they should stick around and click around. And you could do that with the static homepage with the feed. Okay, we're getting questions. Claudia said, when doing a new paragraph, should the heading have the title word in it every time?
No, definitely not. That'll push you in the keyword stuffing if every single paragraph had that keyword in it. I think if you're using the keyword naturally, you'll be fine. Again, we use the word parboil excessively to a lost all meaning because there's not a lot of substitutes for parboiling, but it's not stuffing because clearly we're ranked, I don't know, number 2 for the term. So we can't be too far off. But no, just use it. Again, I'll keep using this phrase, but organically, whenever it comes up naturally in the post, use it. Don't stress about using it too much. As long as you get it in the title and at least once in, you have enough for Google. The rest is for you and your readers.
Okay. How much cornerstone content should be on the static homepage then?
All of it. If you can, link to all of your cornerstone either in the navigation or in the static homepage. That is ideal. Again, you want all of your cornerstone, and that is, you're only going to have a finite number of them. And eventually you have to kick out some cornerstone content because you can't link to everything. It might be 10, it might be 20, whatever your site can handle. You want to make sure those are all linked to ideally from your homepage. And again, because remember, the feed is constantly changing. So you want those static links to it.
Is cornerstone different than is this something we're thinking of when I think about the 4 things that I want my site to be known for? Or is that the same as this, or is this separate? This is strictly like using Google cornerstone.
Yeah, this is for Google and the Google readers. Remember, different types of users will browse your site differently. So your users that might be your newsletter users, your most regular users, you might have different content that's important for them and brings them back. That might be different content from what resonates with your Facebook or your Pinterest audience. And it's certainly going to be different than what Google thinks you're an expert at. So when we're talking about cornerstone content, we're specifically talking about the things that Google thinks you're an expert at and you're ranking on and have a lot of search traffic.
But ideally, we want those things to align at some point, right?
That would be great, but it's not always going to be the case. At no point do I think food fanatic readers are going to get excited by parboiling content in the newsletter or on Facebook. It's just not going to be the case. But I do know that we're going to get a lot of Google search traffic from it. So it won't always align, unfortunately.
Okay, Tanya says, is there a way to get a static homepage on Trellis?
Absolutely. So Trellis, whenever possible, follows WordPress conventions, and WordPress itself gives you the ability to have a static homepage. So really, it doesn't matter what your theme is. WordPress itself is what gives you the ability to create that static homepage. I know we have some information, and we might have a help article on this if someone could share. If we don't, we're going to create one. Great chance to link to it from all that Trellis content, related content. But yeah, you can definitely do it in Trellis and any WordPress theme. That is part of WordPress itself.
Okay. Diane says, Eric, how would you recommend structuring this on your homepage, popular content, your cornerstones, et cetera, if you have multiple niches?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is going to make it tougher. Obviously, if you have just food, it's a little easier to list popular, but just think of it the same way. Just have different sections in your static homepage. Your static homepage can be long. It can be different columns on desktop. So you can think of it as, here's my top travel, my top food, my top DIY, whatever you may run on your site. I would just break it up into different Gutenberg blocks, which is something that you're able to do with the static homepage pretty easily. And then again, just make sure your feed is outputted at the bottom.
Okay. So just to reiterate this, so do you determine your cornerstone content by looking at Google Search Console? One more question on that.
That is how I do it personally, yes. I look for the things that have the most impressions that, again, we're ranking in the top 10. And your cornerstone content might be something you're already number one on, and you just don't want to lose that term. If you have a really big term, you're number one on it, and there's 100,000 searches a month, don't take that for granted. That is your cornerstone content. Make sure there's a link from your homepage at all times. And maybe you don't need to create related content unless you see yourself drop, or maybe you do because you're going to have a better chance at ranking on that related content. All right, and this is just another tip. Google loves fresh content, and so do your readers. Update your content. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that you change the modified date. I know a lot of people try to do the opposite of this and get really stressy about changing the modified date. Don't. If you modify the content in a significant way, such as changing the text or changing the photos or doing anything that is actually changing, you want to send an updated timestamp to Google. Google has ways that you output this. It's in schema. And if you run something like Trellis, we actually give you the option to choose whether you're outputting the published or modified date. In that case, I would only show them the modified date. I actually switched Food Fanatic to doing this as well. And the reason why is because sometimes Google will still show your original published date instead of your modified date. But don't worry, you're outputting both of them to Google in the schema. You're not lying to them or cheating. The idea is by showing modified at the top of your post, a user is more likely to think this is fresh as they're reading it. And just think about it this way. Would you rather read an article from 2013 or 2021, even if it's about an evergreen post? You're probably still more likely to trust in that 2021. So just update your post. And I always say this, don't republish. That is actually when you're lying to Google. When you republish is when you change the published date. And I, in general, try to lie to Google as little as possible because they're pretty smart at the end of the day. And so you don't want to have changing dates for your published date. That's why they have modified separate from your published. And I know it sucks if you have dates in your URL to be showing, and we have this on Food Fanatic. So the Parboiled post still shows 2013 if you look hard enough, but that's okay. We still republish and we're still ranked number 2. Or sorry, we still updated, did not republish, and we're still ranked number 2 for the term. All right, and this is what I was trying to say before. You're just going to keep doing it. You're just going to keep creating related content until you're so sick of parboiling you have to outsource it to another person. That's fine too, but that's what you're going to do. You don't have to, again, do it every 4 years or that we happen to perfectly have done this. You're better off if you come back every month or every few months and add another one. That's way better than just batching them. Batching them is not ideal. And the good news is, as we have found out from 2021, from 2017, the world has not run out of things to parboil. They were not asking how to parboil brats and chicken wings and all this other fun stuff in 2017. It was mostly starches back then. Parboiling got trendy with meats, I guess. And so we found a whole bunch of new posts that we were able to parboil. And because your related content is going to stem from your other related content, and it will help you find more within Search Console, we naturally, a lot of these things came up, like brown rice came up within our how to parboil rice from the original post. So you're only going to find more and more over time. I don't think anyone is going to be stretched to find stuff. And I try to keep the Star Wars metaphor. I don't know if that was witty or not. So
I love it. That's good. No, Mandalorian, it's a great show. It's really good. I also read that as parboiling brats and thought that was something that was happening, like a parenting memoir or something.
Definitely delicious brats.
Excellent. Yes, Star Wars Gish.
All right. And here's just another awesome thing about doing this related content strategy. While you're in there, you're also going to be adding stuff to your post without having to create all new posts. And that's by finding additional long tail keywords that you're ranking on. So we always like to say you have one main key phrase that you're trying, or a focus key phrase as Yoast calls it, that you're trying to rank on with your post. But the good news is you also are going to rank on a lot of additional long tail keywords. So the examples we gave earlier on were, it wasn't just how to parboil, but what to parboil, how long to parboil. Not all of those necessarily would justify their own additional content, but we added sections to the how to parboil blog post, the original one. just do a new H2 header with that question and then text underneath it, answering it. And what do you know? You start ranking even higher for those additional keywords. And you're going to find that you might have been ranking again for brown rice, and you might realize that does need its own post because clearly brown rice has a different amount of cook time than white rice. Maybe, I don't know. Definitely different pictures.
It does.
But the point is,
it does.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. So the point is sometimes you're going to create new content, sometimes you're going to add it. And when you get to add it, that's just picking up free traffic for so little effort. If you're just going to add a new section to your post, it might take you 30 seconds or a minute, and you might find a whole new set of long tail keywords that you're ranked, again, using that same strategy, going to Search Console. Maybe you found this additional content you can add to your related posts. It might be, again, minimal effort. You might be ranked 4 to 10 and pop them in the top 3 by adding that exact phrase inside your post.
So this is a question from our copywriter, which is a great question and comes up right here. When do you determine when it's time to make a new post with some of these other long tail keywords?
I would love anytime you can create a new post and there's enough search traffic, I'll always do it. I think if there's enough content you can write about something that's not just answering a simple question, look, there are some questions that you might not be able to stretch more than a paragraph out of or 2 paragraphs out of. If that's the case, just add it to your post. If it's a huge stretch to get to 500 words on the post, it should just be added. But whenever possible, write a new post because that new post is going to get a whole new set of long tail keywords. And another new post, again, you can look at as related content to link back to your cornerstone. So it's a vague answer, but if you feel you can write a whole post about it, do it. Write a whole post.
And when we're talking about adding in these additional long tail keywords, those are going into the cornerstone post. Yes?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Or sometimes they'll go into, as you'll see in tip 5, the related content. Because sometimes, again, how long to parboil also applies to every single thing you're parboiling. How long to parboil potatoes found its way into the potato post. How long to parboil carrots. So sometimes the same concept will work in your related content the same way it does in your cornerstone.
Okay, well, I don't know that I'm ready to say goodbye to Chewbacca, but oof.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Again, the same strategy you're using for cornerstone, you're also going to use for related. You're going to want to get that new modified timestamp. And again, you're going to want to add in the additional long-tail keywords, and a chance to rank or a chance to link to your other related content and help boost those rankings. So this concept exists within the cornerstone and within the related content. So you're creating related content for your related content for your cornerstone.
Okay, does the concept of duplicate content, because I know that that's always a worry, is putting something, do I need to change the phrasing a little bit for each one, or can I just literally copy paste that section into the related content posts?
Duplicate content is definitely going to be its own blog post and could probably be its own live. So that is definitely not an example of a long tail keyword that you would stick in.
We need another franchise that we can use. It probably shouldn't be Star Wars, but something related.
No, okay, we'll find something witty. Yeah, I mean, I would say you would not generally have to worry about duplicate content as long as you are personally writing this. Duplicate content is going to be generally not on human created content. Generally, you're going to see that if, let's say, you're an e-commerce website and you might have thousands of products listed that you never wrote a description for, those are going to look like duplicate content to Google if they all have the exact same content because you didn't write anything unique on them. Maybe you might see it with, if you have a bunch of author pages that have the exact same content as your homepage, maybe you're a single author blog, that might be duplicate content because there's nothing unique on your author page compared to your homepage. Think about it more when you have templated content that you're not writing anything unique on. If you are writing 2 different posts on this, the chance of them being duplicate is nearly impossible if they're 500 words. I would say statistically absolutely impossible for you to have duplicate content in that case.
Okay. So Sherry says, static versus homepage or static versus dynamic homepage, which is better for ads?
I generally don't stress about ads on the homepage. The Universal Player has been pretty awesome for helping people with homepage revenue. We insert what are called feed ads and like Trellis homepages, and Those will definitely work better if it is a feed as opposed to static. But if your homepage gets you a significant amount of traffic, which is rare for most of our publishers, just email in and we can work with you on setting up additional ad optimizations. Don't let your homepage strategy be guided by ads. Let your ads come in after to your homepage strategy. Your homepage is too important. It's the first thing that again, think of it from a new reader or a brand perspective. That homepage, that appearance is everything. We will help you find ways to make money on your homepage. Don't pick based on that. And because, we already touched on this before, but it seems like we always should do this, use non-food examples, but since we have really two main sites, the Hollywood Gossip and Food Fanatic, I feel like people relate in general more to Food Fanatic than they do to Kim Kardashian posts. So that's why we end up using it. But this definitely works for really any kind of blogger at Mediavine. We have examples of people also ask across all sorts of niches. If you want to see, the same strategy will work. So here's home and DIY. You can see people also ask work there, related searches, same concept. Within decorating my office, you could create a giant cornerstone of additional content. Again, parenting, fashion.
Eric has that hat.
I do. Can't believe I'm not wearing it today.
I know.
And crafts. I mean, we can keep going. Ooh, that one even gets little pictures for there. They love it. Travel, as I was given as an example, is so good for it.
Okay, so that was the presentation, guys. We will definitely share that. And then at the end, you're going to have, as we always do, made by our incredible graphic designer, you'll have links to all the posts that Eric mentioned during the live, all of the SEO like a CEO posts, and then today's Parboiling Strikes Back post, all of that's linked. So you'll be able to have that for your reference and go however you like at your own pace. So I think that this is something that has been asked a couple of times, but I want to make sure that how much cornerstone content is too much cornerstone content? I mean, does the limit not exist? Are we talking Mean Girls, or is it, I mean, how do you do that? If you're creating an ideal number of cornerstone content posts, what would you suggest?
I mean, that's tough. And again, like I said, that's going to vary on site. And sometimes, so again, I'll use the Hollywood Gossip so we don't keep using Food Fanatic. Celebrities are who we look at as our cornerstone content, right? Like it might be the Duggars or a staple of cornerstone content that never seem to go away on the Hollywood Gossip. There's certainly some teen moms that have disappeared over the years, and sometimes they come back with CLS. I know. So it's really going to vary per site. I think something like the Hollywood Gossip generally will have you'd have to ask the editors there. They might have 10 to 20 different celebrities or reality shows that they're tracking and continuously creating that related content for. It might be 30, it might be 40. So again, it's going to depend on your site. How often can you get the stuff into the feed or naturally put it into your navigation, your static homepage? If your content can support 40 cornerstone pieces of content, you're ranking on all of them, that's awesome. That's how you're going to get big traffic. So as many as your site can support. I can't give you an exact number.
All right. So then, no, you said like the limit doesn't exist, but as you also said that when we're writing more, things are going to get pushed down. Some of the cornerstones are going to fade, and then you're going to have to keep bringing them back up in order for them to stay, maintain their rankings.
And
okay.
Google might one day decide you're no longer an expert on something and that they found better experts, and you'll just move on from that cornerstone.
I can't even imagine what would happen if Google decided that we were not God, that would be crushing.
We will be the blanching experts. Do not worry. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Sid's got it. You've got it. I'm not worried. Okay. When you're evaluating the keywords listed in the Google Search Console, you fired it up. We created our accounts if we didn't already have them during this live. Should you pay more attention to clicks or impressions when you're determining their value? You said it could be either.
I generally prefer impressions just because that shows more potential. So again, remember, if you're 4 to 10 and you're going by clicks, you're maybe not going to see too many clicks in any of those positions, but you will still see the impression. Impression means that you showed up in the results, not that someone clicked over to you. So you want to go by impression, knowing that you can improve your click-through performance by improving your ranking or changing your title or adding a date or maybe adding schema, whatever it may be that gives you that boost in click-through rate, that can be optimized later. So I like to go through impression.
All right, with our few remaining moments, if I cannot convince you to do the Yoda dance, we've got a audience member who is asking where you're drawing the line between modify and republish when we're going back and optimizing existing content. So could you talk through that one more time, please?
So republishing simply means you change the publishing date, and people do that a lot. So it'll pop back into their feed. It'll show up in their newsletters. It will do a lot of things when you update the publish date. That's a good thing, but also is a bad thing. It changes the actual publish date that you send to Google via schema. And that's what I call a danger zone, when you start lying to Google. So I will say never change the publish date would be the easiest rule to follow, and just have a line in the sand there. It's not a gray area. Just don't republish if you don't need to. There's a few times you'll need to.
So then how do we pop it back up to the top of our RSS feed, to our homepage, to whatever?
That is a great question. Every time I say I need to make a plugin for this, but I'm sure someone else has a plugin for this. Look for it. There's got to be a way to get things back into the WordPress feed without changing the publish date. I can't be the first person to go build that. I built that for our own blogs because we are crazy people and have our own CMS. We're moving to WordPress, but for now we have a way of doing it for what we call Eric Press. That's not the official name, but that is the nickname for it. So there's a way of doing it on the Hollywood Gossip. There is a way, I believe, of doing it definitely on Food Fanatic. So we can push something back to the top, and there has to be a way to do it through WordPress. There are hundreds of thousands of plugins out there. I'm sure someone has made this.
All right. Well, we'll bug him back here to see if we can make that plugin. Don't worry about that. But if
Somewhere
not,
an engineer or product person is crying, but continue.
They do every time you come on here. Okay. This has been an amazing time. We have learned so much. Someone did. One of my amazing team members dropped the link to the presentation in there. It has the final slide is all of the menagerie of links to all the different posts that we talked about. For our next episode of Teal Talk, it is Tuesday, October 26th. It is at 1 p.m. Eastern. And my guests are different people from the support team, and we are going to be talking about the spooky sweet land of money. If anyone remembers the sweet land of money, we're going to be talking about scaring up some killer earnings this Q4, and it will be a Halloween themed episode. Yes, costumes will be involved. Yes, prizes will be involved. Just get ready. It's going to be amazing. But today, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. It has been the best time, and congratulations on your baby, and everybody else, congratulations on your babies, your new Google Search Console accounts that you're going to go use. Thank you so much.